How do aquatic isopods see? A lot of what I'm about to say in this video can be applied to other crustaceans as well as insects, but I chose to focus on isopods, specifically freshwater isopods, because I feel like they are very much underrated. That being said, welcome to me talking about apical organs. So the answer to how do aquatic isopods see is actually pretty straightforward. They have compound eyes, which is what most crustaceans and insects have. They're made up of thousands of little photoreceptors called ommatidia. Ommatidia? I don't know how you pronounce anything. The eyes mostly allow them to detect light, dark, and movement. They're not super great at making out sharp images, but some compound eyes are better than others. The best that we know of is the mantis shrimp and the dragonfly, and the worst is millipedes or cave spiders, but they evolved not to really use their eyes, so I feel like it doesn't count. Aquatic isopods are somewhere in the middle there, and there is a species that is a freshwater species called the Madison cave isopod that completely ditched the whole eye thing. They just straight don't have eyes anymore. Like they were like, fuck eyes, like they just don't care. So how do aquatic isopods see? Not very well with compound eyes, but that is such a boring answer. How do aquatic isopods perceive? That's so much more fun. All right, the first way is through something called the apical cone. Sometimes it is called other things in literature about this. So if there is a more up-to-date term, please feel free to correct me if you know about it. So here's how it goes. A freshwater isopod has two pairs of antennas. The big pair is known as the second pair, and it is used partly for feeling or mechanoreception, if you want to use the fancy science words. Literally just touch sense, right? But it has this tuft of weird little hair-ish stuff on the end of it called sensilla, and that little tuft part is called the apical cone. Sometimes. We're not good at branding in the freshwater isopod world. The branding is inconsistent, okay? Sometimes it's called the apical cone. So this contains chemoreceptors, which connects right back to the isopod's brain, and it allows the isopod to detect a ton of different stuff, mostly water-soluble substances. So it basically serves as their sense of smell. They can also use this sensilla to detect pheromones, which they use to communicate with other isopods. They can also smell a ton of different chemicals in the water, which allows them to detect the presence of predators, find a place to live, determine how oxygenated the water is, and also to determine salinity of the water that they're in. I don't know why that one is so f***ing crazy to me, because like, okay, f***ing think about it. Like, you're this tiny little f***ing bug thing. You're a very small crustacean, and you can smell the salinity of the water around you with your weird little f***ing head arm thing. Like, that's kind of f***ing crazy when you think about it, right? Like, that's kind of insane. The small pair of antenna, or the first pair of antenna, sometimes called the antennules, they pretty much do the same thing. There are some studies that suggest that they are more useful for detecting vibrations, so it may be used more for navigation. The research does kind of go back and forth on which one does what and which one is more important. We do know that both can be regrown through molts. Sometimes it's reported that it's the other way around, and the big antennas are actually for the vibrations and the little ones do all the chemoreception. But regardless, the antennas, the sensilla, the apical cone, and the associated organs and brain parts tell an isopod pretty much everything they need to know about their environment. Now, a fun fact about this is that crustaceans evolved for land like a dozen different times, or as this one paper put it, the conquest of land occurred at least 10 times convergently. But when isopods evolved for land, they actually lost some of their ability to perceive this way and had to start relying more on direct contact with the soil. That's a whole nother video, but it does just speak to like how different terrestrial isopods are from aquatic isopods. Even though they look very similar, they don't even perceive the same way anymore. Like, that's kind of crazy, right? Next up, and I love this one, is mouthpart palps. So certain parts of an aquatic isopod's mouth are covered in something called setae. I swear to God, that's how Google just told me to pronounce this. I've been saying setae my entire life. That reads setae, right? Okay, apparently it's setae. I just learned that. That's what I get for second guessing myself. I find out that I'm wrong. Either way, the setae also contain chemoreceptors, which again are able to detect a ton of different chemicals. And that pretty much tells the aquatic isopod if what they're eating is food or not. That's pretty much how they taste. But what's really cool about that is that different species of aquatic isopods have been shown to have different types of setae as well as different amounts of setae, which again is just so fucking cool to me because even though a lot of them really look similar, they've had to really adapt and evolve to their environment, down to their fucking mouth hair. I don't know, I just feel like that's fucking cool, man. Like that's just fucking cool. The last way we're gonna talk about is the sensory dorsal organ, shortened to SDO. The sensory dorsal organ is made up of 4 little sensors and then a gland in the middle. And they're arranged in like a dice pattern, like the 5 on a dice. It's present on a ton of crustaceans and it's a fucking weird one. We know that it is a sensory organ. We know that it contributes to their senses, but we don't really know like how or like why or like what. There's a lot of hypotheses and like not a lot of answers. Some crustaceans have them their whole life. Some crustaceans only have them in a larval state. Some crustaceans don't have them at all. But it is believed that freshwater isopods and marine isopods have an SDO. We don't know what they're sensing with this organ or how. And is that not fucking insane? What do you mean? Tiny little fucking bug-looking ass crustacean. These little shits have a sensory organ that we have not figured out, and they're using it to perceive something that we don't understand. Like it's almost a little scary, right? Like what do you fucking mean? So yeah, how do aquatic isopods see? Poorly, but they perceive beyond our comprehension.